Hello YouTube. Let's experiment a little bit today, and so I just got done finishing up my long test run that achieved 48 hours of total runtime with this setup, and the beginning of the runtime test for the continual test, after a few hours of running and configuring this, I had a surge of energy, killed these batteries. They were measuring -1 volt. Then I had 38 hours of continual runtime before it stopped. So I hand spun it, got it going again. It ran for a total of 48 hours. I've posted about it and made other videos and whatnot. So what I've done since is I've swapped these two batteries. So the one that was over here is now here, and this one is now over there. And they're measuring the same charge as before, but I've noticed something pretty interesting with the O-scope. And sorry if my camera is shaky. Essentially, I'm filming on my head for the first time with the hat, and the hat's kind of flopping around and vibrating. And so I apologize about that, this new filming technique, but essentially you see everything I see. So hopefully I'm a little bit louder this way, and hopefully everything is more transparent. Like, quite literally, I want everyone to know that, you know, there's no weird, funny business going on. So, alright. We are at, just so I can see and make sure that you can see things. So we're at 1 millisecond sweep time. We're on DC mode, channel A, and we're at 0.2 volts per division, which is one of those big squares right there. And so as you can see, I touch this, booyah, body signal, right? So we know that it's on, we know that it's working. So first off, we're gonna just move this to ground so I don't interfere with it, just for the heck of it. We'll attach this guy. Sorry, it's kind of weird filming like this and trying to look over at different things without affecting the camera. Alrighty. So I think that's solid. We're going to move to DC mode, and as you can see, we've gone down 2 squares. Yeah, I know this is a little bit tilted. That's because it got kicked a couple times. Still works good though. It's centered at least on the correct number. And so that's a total of -0.4 volts, and earlier we were showing, you know, -0.1 volts at the end of that experiment. So just by moving it to this other spot has a different value now. Okay, so that's kind of cool. We go into AC mode, snaps to 0, ground 0. Alright, so now we know that value. Once again, that value is -0.4 volts. Why? Because it got cooked. Got cooked from a surge of energy. As you can see, my fingers were holding this wire and it practically melted it through. That was like in 2 seconds. Okay, so now we're going to do this battery. If I can get it in there. Okay, so we're in there. I think you see that. So we're at still 0.2 volts per division. Now we've gone down 1, 2, 3, 4. See that? That's a total of -1 volts. See that? -1 volts. So I just swapped these batteries. I just told you that. And earlier, the one that was measuring -1 volts was this one that was over here, right? So this one is always measuring -1, it seems like, no matter what. This one over here, it varies depending on what's going on over here. But it started at -1. So now it's a matter of, okay, why is energy behaving like that? Something interesting to note, so we'll go to ground 0, AC 0. See, so now we're at 0.5 volts per division right here, so you can see that's -1 volts. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this ground wire, and this ground wire goes to this light post I was showing you earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch this to the hot side of this capacitor right here. And you notice that the hot side of this capacitor right here, it's connected to this hot ground, but it's blocked by this reversal diode, right? So like, it's not coming from the battery. And I've already touched this multiple times, so this should be drained. And so whatever waveform starts oscillating and pulsing like this is probably coming from the rest of these capacitors over here that are already charged, or the ambient energy being sucked into this system. So let's try this. So the scope is still on DC mode. We're going to switch it back to, I guess 0.5 is fine. So I touch it, you see nothing changes. Oh, we got to reconnect that. Oh, well, it's doing it now. You saw it momentarily. Okay, so I take the ground off. Check that out. So the DC is this trifilar noise, if you will. And that trifilar noise is centered at 0. And I go to ground and it's still 0, and the AC is at 0. But there's still energy there. You see that waveform? That's beautiful, isn't it? So that's on the hot side of this battery right here with the motor turned off. And that's the waveform we're getting. And I haven't even shown you the interesting part yet, because I haven't even touched this over here because I accidentally took that off. So I'm going to hook this ground up again if I can. Okay, the ground is hooked up. I'm going to go over and touch this to this side. And gonna go to DC mode. Oh, you hear that? With the motor pulse, I just finally touched it. Here it go, boom, boom. So try to do it again here. Hear that? Look at that jump. And so it's changing the ground clearly. And you can hear it in the motor. Look at that light flash. I smell burning when I do that. I can't keep doing that. Something's burning up when I do that. So obviously it's like, okay, no duh, it's burning, because you're shorting the battery negative terminal to the positive terminal, right? What's weird is I didn't get the same waveform as earlier I wanted to show you. So I don't know exactly what's different. Maybe it's just this ground needs to float. So I touch right there, smoothing cap on that side of smoothing cap, no smoothing cap, touch there, So you see how that's negative 1 volt on that side of the cap, and then on this side of the cap we're at 0 volts. Take it off, there it is. On this side of the diode, 0, right? So that makes sense because we have the same reference point right there. When I go over to this reference point, we have negative 1 volts. Why is it negative energy like that? So interesting. Okay, so now that I've swapped these batteries, I want to see, can it keep running with swapped batteries even though I have not charged these? So instead of touching these batteries where I was, what I'm going to do is so those connections are secure, and I'm going to put this in here. Look at that. And then I touch this to here, boom, nothing. So you see that's coming right off of this meg here. Okay, so we're hooked up 0.2 volts per division. So we're at plus and minus 0.2 volts, 0.4 volts electrostatic potential earlier. And it's interesting how we went from 0.1 volts to, you know, around 0.3, 0.4 volts, and there we have the rest of the 0.4 volts almost like stored in the ether as this vibrational mode in the meg. Anyways, AC mode, look, it's the same thing. So the difference is over here, we're not seeing that negative voltage bias like we're seeing it over there when I go, okay, I'm going to touch this side of the cap. To ground. And then this side of the cap to ground. You see that? That's measuring negative, or that's measuring 0. 0, 0. And then I touch the battery, negative 0.2. So going across the capacitor, there's nothing. As soon as I touch there, nothing. But as soon as I touched the battery relative to ground, you know, negative 0.4. See? That's negative 0.4. So that's the rest of the 1 volt. So did we ever even lose the energy, or did we just move it around the whole time? And it was running the whole time for 2 days, and like, I don't know, you tell me. Okay, it's on in SG mode, and this is how I've been starting it. I just go like this. As you can see, it has plenty of energy. I just swapped the batteries. I have not charged them. So is this a perpetual motion machine? You tell me. Did I achieve over unity? I think that's pretty obvious at this point. Look at that waveform come back. So I'm going to touch this now. And it goes away just like earlier. Go from this side of the capacitor to this side. You see how the capacitance is there? It's real energy. It's jumping it up. Let's go down to a millivolts range, because this is a smaller capacitance. So I touch this, it jumps up. See, we're capturing real energy with capacitors, because capacitors are Casimir cavities, and Casimir cavities get energy, because that's basically restricting the electromagnetic waveforms and creating an asymmetry of light pressure or ether pressure. So this doesn't sound right, so I'm going to adjust it. That doesn't sound right. Okay. It wants max inductance almost right now. Or, sorry. Max on the pot, basically. It's turned all the way up. So, this, by the way, is happening at 2:03 p.m. This is the same day I ended my continual run test. I ended that continual run test at 12:15 p.m. So I've had 2 hours of playing with the O-scope, letting the batteries relax, and sharing my research. And as you can see, it's still going. I have not charged these batteries, I promise you. I have not done anything to them this whole time in days. They have been dead from the beginning of this experiment. I charged them with solar days ago, and that's what powered playing with this during prototyping of building it. Like I mentioned, I cooked these batteries during a high energy event and also fried that bulb. So I can't wait to try this when this motor is running properly with a proper neon bulb, so that runs proper. And once that electrostatic potential is really going through, I think this voltage going through this meg is just going to really bloom, and that's going to amplify this ability. But we'll see. Alright. Well, let's see how long it goes now with switching the batteries back. Alright, YouTube. Peace. Love. Positivity.